say, I can't draw a straight line. I don't have the talent, Bob, to do what you're doing. That's baloney. Talent is a pursued interest. In other words, anything that you're willing to practice, you can do.
Hi everyone, my name is Gia Toms. I'm a student in Ceramics 1. I'm a junior in high school, and I decided to take ceramics because I really wanted to see if I enjoyed working with clay. So without further ado, here's my ceramics portfolio. Okay, so first up is my name tile, and I started things off by making a sketch, and since I love dogs and I really love animals, I decided to put a paw print and also a bone as two of my additions that showed like who I am. And then I also put my name in the middle in all capital letters because I thought that looked the best. My 3 levels of elevation were the pattern I put, the standard base, and then my letters. I used 2 different textures on them. One of the textures I used was on my letters, and the other texture was on the base of my project. This project looks done and not finished, considering the fact that there are some issues with the clay not being fully smooth, some clay boogers, and also the way I applied the glaze didn't really come out as well as I thought it would. And I didn't put any underglazes on this, however, I did put pastel color scheme on there because I thought that looked the most aesthetically pleasing. The second project we did was our imaginary friends, and I decided to make a penguin because I've always loved penguins. And to personalize my penguin, I made it have a bow tie, and I also glazed it in a non-traditional sense, making it brown. And there's really no narrative other than the fact that I wanted it to kind of look like Pesto the penguin, who, if you don't know, I'll insert a picture of him, but he's really cute. And then in terms of like different construction compared to my name tile, I used the patch process, which uses shapes and doesn't require slipping and scoring. Well, it does require slipping but not scoring. And then I chose iron because it looked most like Pesto, and then Snapdragon because I thought it was the prettiest red. And it's important that we wipe the bottom of our projects because you don't want it to stick to the kiln and then get ruined. And then the most challenging thing was to figure out in this project was to attach the wings because I was unfamiliar with how to make the shapes in the patches process and also how to add them still. So yeah, and then I think one of the most successful aspects of my work is the beak along with the bow tie that I made. Our third project of the semester was the pumpkin with a spooky surprise, and for this, you really need to have a great pinch pot because if you don't have a good pinch pot, your base could potentially fall apart because the project itself is really based off of that pinch pot and how you meld it together. So some tips for creating the pinch pots is utilizing different tools. So for instance, I have nails, so I used a round tool to kind of create the base of my pinch pot, and then from there I would work around it. And in terms of small details of my project, I used the wood potter's thumb and then also the needle tool to create like ridges and the stem and other details within my project. And for smoothing my project, the inside, I used the wood potter's thumb to kind of get inside of my project, and then I also used the sponge to smooth over top of that. And for my spooky surprise and the spider web, I used the black underglaze and then the Sgraffito tool to actually carve the spider web into the top of my lid. And then I chose the cat as my spooky surprise because I thought it was really symbolic of Halloween. And for my glazes, I chose Tangelo because I thought it was a really pretty orange, and I chose Tomoku, which is for the stem, and I really liked the brown and how it looked and on like the kind of sample pieces, so I chose that. And then for me, the most challenging part of this project was creating the base for the pinch pot because it took the longest and also was the most difficult to shape. And then I thought some successful parts of my project included the ridges as well as my stem, which turned out the way I imagined them to. Our fourth project was the Jomon coil pot. This was a really interesting project, and I learned a lot culturally about pottery and the Jomon period of pottery. So some interesting things that I learned about the Jomon people was that they were very intricate and their pots were very detailed. And then in the Jomon period of pottery, they used intricate coils in their works, which is similar to how we made them in class. just not as intricate, but in a more modern light. So some tips for creating coils for me is that the designs are sometimes really difficult, so make sure that like your coils are the width of your pinky so that it's not too thick or too thin. And also make sure that your coil, like the clay that you're using, is not dry and that it's like wet enough so that it won't crack. I planned my coil pot originally choosing like the favorite coils that I found on the sheet, and then I chose them at first because they were pleasing. However, during my creative process, in terms of time, I didn't think I had enough for making all these intricate coils, so instead I kind of made some more simple coils. And then I selected 2 different shades of blue in the interior and the exterior of my Jamon coil pot because I thought it looked nice together. And the most challenging part of this project was to smooth the interior and also make sure that there was no gaps. And I think the most successful aspect of my work was the glazing that I did and the finished project. Our last and final project was the slab built house, which I chose to make it kind of based architecturally off of like what a gingerbread house would look like. I added details such as the chimney and the wreath and the windows to kind of make it look like a cute little gingerbread house. And before the assembly of my house, all of my pieces were in leather hard stage so that there was enough moisture so I could slip and score the pieces together. However, it needed to be hard enough so that it wouldn't fall apart. And in order to join the pieces of my house together, I used thin coils and slip to assemble my house together and make sure that it was clean and didn't have any lines in it. I also used the wood potter's thumb to create details on my wreath and other cutters to create candy canes on the side of my houses, which were some like pieces I used to make my house differentiate from others and look very gingerbread like. I see this project as a combination of everything because I used the tools which were introduced in the beginning of the school year through my project along with coils which we used in the Jomon coil pot to ensure that the house remained in peace and didn't fall apart. And I also used the slip and score method, which we used in the beginning of the year and used throughout the whole semester. And then I used the terracotta underglaze for my house, which apparently didn't turn out that well. And then I put a clear coat over top of it, which made my house turn out kind of like a burnt gingerbread house. However, my intention was to make it look just like a normal gingerbread house. And I used jade to do my door handle and my wreath as well, and then the Snapdragon color for my candy canes. It was really challenging to glaze this project because there were so many details and so many places I needed to cover. And I thought that my candy canes were the most successful part in terms of glaze and attachment. And I also thought that the foundation, for the most part of my house, was pretty clean and nothing broke off of my house. So I was pretty proud of that as well. Overall, this semester has had its ups and downs. For me, the most successful project out of all of these projects was by far my gingerbread house. Even though the glaze didn't turn out the greatest, I thought that the foundation and details of my house was the best out of all my projects. And on the other hand, for my pumpkin, I thought it was really challenging because it had a lot of steps, and it was definitely the most time-consuming project that we did. I thought that the hardest part about it was the Spooky Surprise and Spiderweb, which was really detailed, and I'm not really good at small details, so that's something I definitely hope to work on in the future of ceramics. I'd really like to rework my name tile because I put the pattern on the name tile after I had cut it out, so it looks pretty wonky in terms of the shape of it. And I also want to rework the glaze because a lot of places, like I put glaze, it didn't show up, or I guess I wiped it off or something. And then the project that was my favorite to do was the gingerbread house because I like putting pieces together and also adding like cute little Christmas decorations, and I thought it was the most festive project we did. The most valuable lesson I learned this semester is to come to school. Not really, but actually to have patience because art takes precision, and to be happy with your finished project, you need to make sure you have time and come to school. So looking forward to second semester, I hope to learn how to glaze better considering some of the mistakes I made. Glaze, in my opinion, can make or break a project, so I think it's really important for me next semester to focus on it and also kind of pick the right colors sometimes. But other than that, I really enjoyed this semester and hope everybody has a great winter break. Thank you.